It has become a symbol of power's corruption, a maniac, fiddling while his city burns. The tyrant was Nero. The story of Nero playing the violin while Rome burned. It shaped his image as one of history's most evil men, the psychopath, the emperor who killed his wife, who murdered his mother, who threw Christians to the lions, who was condemned to an early death. But Nero never even touched a violin. That detail should warn us. There is more to him than the monster we think we know. Because there was another Nero, a man who longed for peace, not war. The world's first rock star, cheered by adoring crowds. An enlightened lover of music, theater, and the arts. And it is this, Nero, the forgotten Nero, that I will try to rescue from the ashes of his terrible reputation. Who was Nero? His story unfolded here, in Rome, inside the imperial palaces on the Palatine Hill. These ruins are all that remain. Corridors and darkened rooms, a drama once alive inside them, part political thriller, part domestic tragedy. Nero's life had it all: intrigue, jealousy, passionate affairs, bitter betrayals. But this hostile picture was shaped after his death. Propaganda turned him into a monster. Historians exaggerated the myth. My task is to balance fact and fiction, to see through the smoke, to find the boy inside the emperor. We know this much for certain. Nero came to power at 16, an age when most boys only choose school subjects. He became ruler of half the world. That is when his history as emperor began. But to understand him, we must go back to the child, back to the shadows of his early years. He was not always Nero. He was born Lucius Domitius Anabarbus on the 15th of December, 37 AD in Antium, on the coast near Rome, a playground for the Roman elite. Among these stones once stood his palace. His father was brutal, a man feared more than loved. He drank, he fought, he killed. He left scars on everyone who came near. His mother was different, sharp, ambitious, ruthless. She looked at her baby and saw a crown. She whispered destiny into his cradle. She promised herself she would carve his future, with blood, with cunning, with sacrifice. Rome was no safe place for children. Power devoured innocence. Palaces swallowed families whole. Plots moved faster than lullabies, and a toddler could be left alone in the ashes of exile. Nero grew in shadows. His toys were fear. His lullabies were whispers of betrayal. When he smiled, it was guarded. When he played, it was careful. Every laugh was borrowed time. Uncle Caligula ruled the empire, paranoid, unstable, merciless. He sent Nero's mother away. The boy remained, surrounded by strangers, raised by slaves, raised by ghosts. But fortune twists quickly in Rome. One knife in the dark, one plot in the Senate. Caligula's blood spilled on the marble, and Nero's mother returned. Her eyes burned brighter than before. Her hands were steady. Her plan was simple. Nero would rule, at any cost. She married Claudius, her own uncle, the stuttering emperor, the survivor in a court of predators. But she was more dangerous than he ever guessed. She poisoned alliances. She silenced rivals. She secured her son's adoption. The boy gained a new name, Nero Claudius Caesar. The crown was suddenly within reach. Stay with these stories. Walk further into the past. Hear the whispers of history. If you want more voices, more shadows, more forgotten emperors, subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. Claudius loved mushrooms, and one night they killed him. Some said poison, some said fate. But when the emperor fell, the gates of power swung open. The boy of shadows became Rome's ruler. 16 years old, barely a man, now emperor of half the world. At first, he wanted to please. He wanted to be good. He wanted to be loved. He cut taxes. He gave bread. He gave games. He walked among the people and smiled. They cheered. They adored him. The city called his name, but his mother still pulled the strings. She stood behind curtains in the Senate. She listened. She whispered commands. She minted coins with her own face beside his. She believed she ruled through him. But Nero began to hate her grip. The perfect mother became the perfect jailer. He longed for freedom, for passion, for music, for love. He found it in women his mother despised. First Octa, then Poparger. Every kiss was rebellion. Every affair a war against the woman who had given him life. Love made him reckless. Ambition made him cruel. Whispers told him one truth. As long as she lived, he would never be free. So he planned her death, not with daggers, not with poison, but with theater. a boat built to sink, a stage for a son's betrayal. She dined with him. She smiled, unaware. She boarded the vessel under moonlight. The sea was calm, the stars indifferent. The boat cracked open, water rushed in, screams echoed. Her maid died in her place, but she swam, she survived. Back on land, she returned to her villa, wounded, terrified, but alive. Nero panicked. He sent soldiers. They broke her doors. They struck her down. She pointed to her womb. She cried, "Strike here, where Nero was born." They obeyed, and Rome lost its empress mother. From that moment, Nero was changed. The chains of guilt clattered behind him, but he did not stop. He married Poppaea. He silenced rivals. He executed his own wife, Octavia, and still, he played the part of an artist. Rome burned. Flames swallowed wooden homes. The sky turned crimson. People ran, they screamed, they cursed. Some said they saw him on a balcony, singing of Troy while fire licked the city. Others swore he wasn't even there. The truth no longer mattered. The myth was stronger. He blamed the Christians, a strange new sect, despised, distrusted, perfect scapegoats. He tortured them, burned them as human torches, fed them to lions. The people watched. Some cheered, some turned away in horror, but his palace rose from the ashes. The golden house, walls of jewels, ceilings that rained petals, a dome that spun with the stars. Rome starved. Nero feasted. The city whispered. The Senate seethed. His own guards doubted him. He fled into music. He sang. He acted. He raced chariots. He believed applause could save him, but senators wanted blood. Legions deserted. The empire crumbled. He ran from his palace, through gardens once filled with roses, through halls once filled with laughter. He hid in a villa. He trembled. He begged his companions to kill him. They refused. So he pressed a dagger to his throat. A slave guided his hand. The blade struck. Blood filled his mouth. His last words were strange. "What an artist dies with me." And then silence. The empire moved on. His memory was cursed. His palaces torn down. But his ghost lingered. Some said he lived in disguise. Others believed he would return. Rome never forgot him. A tyrant, a dreamer, a murderer, an artist. Nero was all of these, and none of them. The boy Nero never had peace. His father, Gnaeus Domitius, was violent. He drank too much. He killed in anger. He gouged out an eye in the forum. He ran over a child in rage. This was the man who gave Nero his blood. His mother, Agrippina, was no softer. She was steel wrapped in beauty. Ambition burned in her eyes. She was the daughter of Germanicus, the sister of Caligula, the wife of Claudius, the mother of an emperor. Ancient writers paint her as ruthless. Tacitus calls her dangerous. Cassius Dio calls her unstoppable, and she shaped Nero in her image. When Nero was small, she vanished, exiled by Caligula, banished to an island. The boy was left alone, raised by dancers, by slaves, by whispers. Then came Claudius, the stuttering uncle, the survivor, to some, a fool, to others, a cold killer. Trials in secret rooms, suspects tortured for pleasure. Messalina stood beside him. Claudius' wild young wife. She wanted power for her son. Agrippina wanted power for Nero. The palace became a battlefield. A story survived the centuries. Assassins crept into Nero's chamber. They pulled back his blanket. They raised their knives, and then a snake slid from the bed. The killers fled in terror. Agrippina found the skin. She turned it into a bracelet for her boy. Was it true, or just folklore? Historians doubt it. But the story lived, and legends can shape an emperor as much as facts. Messalina's games ended in scandal. Her supposed marriage to her lover was her ruin. She died by her own hand. Agrippina stepped into her place. She married Claudius. She pushed her son forward. She bent the Senate. She bent the Praetorian Guard. She bent Rome itself. And then Claudius died. Mushrooms, some said, laced with poison. Others whispered food sickness. The truth lies buried with him. But the result was clear. Nero became emperor at 16. Coins told the story. Mother and son side by side, their faces equal. Her name even placed first. The perfect mother, the perfect son. But equality never lasts in Rome. Soon Nero stepped ahead. Her face slipped to the background. Her voice silenced in meetings. Her shadow pushed away. Nero wanted freedom. He wanted Octavia gone. He wanted Octa, the slave girl, Agrippina raged. She forbade it, but love bends laws, and Rome bent with him. Tension grew. Mother against son, senators against empress, Burrus and Seneca against Agrippina. The court split down the middle, and then Britannicus died, the true son of Claudius, the natural heir. One sip from a poisoned cup, one gasp, one collapse at dinner. Nero claimed epilepsy, but the whispers said murder. Agrippina mourned Britannicus, not for the boy, but for her lost weapon. Now Nero stood alone, and she had no leverage left. Nero moved her out, into another palace, away from power, away from him. She was mother no longer. She was threat, and threats do not last. Nero devised a plan. A collapsible boat, a theater trick, turned to murder, a feast, a farewell, a gift of death. The ship cracked, the canopy fell. Her companion was crushed. Agrippina fell into the sea, but she swam. She lived. She reached her villa. Nero panicked. He sent assassins. They broke down her doors. They beat her. She bared her womb. "Strike here," she cried. They obeyed, and Rome lost its darkest mother. Nero wept. Some said, he sang. Others said, but one thing was true. He crossed a line, from ruler to murderer, from son to monster. The Senate lied for him. They claimed she plotted. They claimed she killed herself. The people whispered otherwise, but fear kept them silent. Still, for a time, Nero shone. He gave power back to the Senate. He lowered taxes. He scattered prizes. The mob cheered him. He was their star. But the fire changed everything. The great fire of Rome. It began near the circus. A shop, a spark, a gust of wind. Flames leaped into the night. Houses caught like dry reeds. Streets turned to rivers of fire. Rome burned 6 days, then burned again for 3 more. Only 4 districts survived untouched. The rest were ash. Tacitus tells us Nero was away. At his villa in Antioch, he rode back at once. He opened gardens to the homeless. He cut the price of grain. He fought the flames with his own hands. But stories spread faster than fire. They said he watched from his balcony. They said he sang of Troy's fall. They said he played the lyre while the city screamed. None of it proven. But myth mattered more than truth. And the myth of Nero the fiddler was born. To rebuild, he needed gold. He taxed the people. He seized land, and he built his dream. The Domus, Araya, the golden house. Imagine it. Walls shining with jewels. Ceilings raining petals. Pipes spraying perfume. A rotating banquet hall. A palace bigger than imagination. Suetonius wrote. Nero said at last he could live like a human being. But Rome seethed. Their emperor feasted in gold, while they still smelled of smoke. He blamed the Christians, a strange sect, despised already. They refused to honor the gods. They spoke of fire and endings. They made the perfect scapegoat. They were torn by dogs, burned as torches, crucified in the arenas, and Peter the apostle was among them. His death sealed Nero's legacy. Nero loved the stage more than the throne. He sang, he played, he acted, he bathed in applause. In Greece he was adored. He forced festivals to change their schedules. Judges trembled before him. He won every prize. 1,800 victories, 1,800 crowns. But back in Rome, senators whispered, generals scowled. They wanted an emperor of iron, not one of song. And still, Nero chased the echo of clapping hands. He fed on praise like a starving man. When the crowd roared, he felt alive. When they were silent, he crumbled. Tacitus wrote of him, a man who longed for love, a man who sought it in all the wrong places. One of those places was Sporus, a boy, beautiful, delicate, resembling Papagia, Nero's dead wife. Nero could not bear his grief, so he reshaped reality. He had the boy castrated. He dressed him as an empress. He married him in public, a wedding with veils and vows. Nero could not bear his grief, so he reshaped reality. He had the boy castrated. He dressed him as an empress. He married him in public, a wedding with veils and vows. The people stared. Some laughed, some wept, some shuddered in silence. To Nero, it was devotion. To Rome, it was madness. The emperor of the world, a groom to his own ghost. Around him, enemies gathered. The Piso conspiracy formed in whispers. Senators, soldiers, even poets like Lucan. They dreamed of Nero's death. Epicharis, a freedwoman, was tortured for answers. She said nothing. Instead, she strangled herself with her own girdle. The plot collapsed. and Nero's paranoia grew. Seneca, his old tutor, was accused. The philosopher who once guided him, now forced to open his veins. He died calmly, they say, but the shadow of his death stained Nero forever. Rome bled trust. Each day brought new executions. Friends vanished. Families crumbled. Fear became the emperor's true throne. And yet, Nero still performed. He still sang. He still dreamed of art. He built the Golden House higher. He filled it with lakes and statues. He spun banquets under stars painted in gold. He showered guests with petals. He drowned them in perfume. Suetonius claimed the ceilings collapsed under the weight of flowers. Was it true, or just another legend? In Nero's Rome, truth and theater were the same. Meanwhile, the empire cracked. Rebellions spread. Britain rose under Boudicca. Judea flared in revolt. Legions turned restless. The generals saw weakness. Galba marched. The Praetorian Guard betrayed their oath. The Senate declared Nero an enemy. And suddenly, the emperor was alone. No guards, no crowds, no applause, only silence. He fled the palace in the night, still in his bedclothes, with only a few slaves. He reached a villa. He hid in the shadows. He listened for hoofbeats. A messenger came. The Senate had condemned him. He would be stripped, tied, beaten to death with rods. He asked, trembling, "What is this punishment?" They told him. He paled. He whispered, "Is there no easier way?" Suicide was the only escape, but he could not do it alone. He begged his companions. They hesitated. They wept. They fled. At last, Epaphroditus, his freedman, helped him. Nero pressed a blade to his throat. He faltered. He sobbed. He cried out the words, "What an artist dies with me." The steel entered. The emperor fell. He was 30 years old. The Julio-Claudian line ended in blood. His body was claimed by Octa, his first love. She cremated him in secret. She placed his ashes in a humble tomb. No golden palace, no marble shrine, just dust. Rome moved on. Galba ruled. Then Otho, then Vitellius, then Vespasian, the year of the 4 emperors. Civil war and chaos. Vespasian brought stability. He destroyed Nero's palace. He drained his lake. He built the Colosseum on its ruins, a monument to order over excess. But Nero never vanished. Legends kept him alive. Some said he escaped. Some said he would return. A false Nero rose in Greece, another in Asia. His ghost walked the empire for years. Historians wrote him as monster, as murderer, as madman, and yet they also wrote of his art, of his music, of his fragile, desperate heart. Was he tyrant? Was he artist? Was he boy forever craving love? The truth lies somewhere between. 2,000 years later, his name still burns. Nero, the boy who became emperor. The emperor who became a myth. The myth that became eternal. The island of Britannia was restless, far from Rome, cold, wet, wild. The Iceni tribe had a king. His name was Prasutagus. Rome called him ally. When he died, he left his will, half to his daughters, half to the emperor. Rome ignored the will. Rome wanted it all. Rome took it all. His widow was Boudicca, tall, red-haired, eyes like steel. Rome flogged her. Her daughters were raped, her people enslaved. Britannia erupted, tribes united. The island rose in fire. They marched on Camulodunum, the Roman colony. They burned it to ash. Statues of Claudius fell, heads smashed, bodies piled in streets. They marched on Londinium. Merchants fled. The city was slaughtered. They marched on Verulamium. Again the flames. Again the massacre. Nero's governor was far away. Paulinus with his legions. He returned too late. Still, he gathered his army. Roman shields, Roman discipline. The tribes had numbers, but Romans had order, and order cut deeper. The battle came. Britons pressed forward. Romans held their line. Short swords stabbed, spears flew. The wagons of the tribes trapped them. Slaughter followed. Tens of thousands dead. Boudicca drank poison. Rome crushed the revolt. But Nero's name was stained. The world saw an empire stretched thin. In the east, trouble brewed. Judea was restless. Taxes heavy. Faith insulted. Roman soldiers mocked the temple. Coins defiled. Greed piled upon greed. The people snapped. Jerusalem erupted. Flames lit the holy city. A garrison was slaughtered. Legions humiliated. The empire shaken. Nero sent Vespasian, a hard soldier, a patient commander. With his son Titus he marched 3 legions strong. Steel against stone, they crushed towns, they burned villages, the revolt bled. Jerusalem was surrounded, its walls high, its people starving. The temple stood, white marble, gold that gleamed. But the legions pressed harder, stones from catapults, rams pounding gates. Hunger gnawed inside the city, brothers fought brothers. Fires broke within, at last the walls cracked. Titus entered, the temple burned. Smoke rose to heaven, a shrine turned to ash. The people scattered. Rome triumphed, but Nero gained no glory. Others carried the crown of victory, while he sang in theaters. His generals won empires, and history remembered. Nero died in shame, but Rome did not let him rest. Rumors spread, whispers grew. Some said he had fled, to the east, to the Parthians. Some said he would return with armies, with vengeance. Impostors appeared, men with his face, men with his voice. They dressed like him, they sang his songs. Crowds believed. In Greece, a false Nero rose, adored by sailors, feared by governors. In Asia, another appeared, preaching revenge, promising return. Rome trembled. The ghost of Nero walked still, a tyrant turned prophecy. For years they waited. The Nero, redivivus, the emperor reborn. History killed him, but legend would not die. Centuries passed, Rome fell, but Nero's name endured. In Christian tales he was the beast, the Antichrist, the enemy of God. Medieval monks painted him black, the man who fiddled, the man who burned. In the Renaissance, artists revived him. They painted his palace, they studied his ruins. Some saw cruelty, others saw tragedy. A boy emperor lost in madness. Modern historians split. Was he tyrant? Was he artist? Psychologists wonder, was he broken by his mother, haunted by his childhood? Musicians call him the first rock star. Crowds, lights, adoration. Politicians call him warning of power unrestrained, of vanity without end. And still his name burns. Nero, not forgotten, never forgiven.